we will please rise as I announce the arrival of the Administrator of River State, His Excellency, Vice Admiral, Retired, Ibok-Ete Ekwe Ibas, CFR.
Today, our dear state marks 58 years since its creation. It is a moment of both celebration and solemn reflection. A day to remember who we are, where we have come from, and where we must go together. And I think the guest lecturer was able to capture most of this. Nevertheless, we should all remember that Rivers State was birthed out of the struggle for identity, equity, and self-determination. From that noble beginning in 1967, the state has grown into one of Nigeria's most resourceful, diverse, and resilient states. It is a mosaic of cultures, languages, and traditions. Our diversity is our strength. What has distinguished us has always been our people. Proud, industrious, and bound together by shared hopes that transcend our differences. Let us take a moment to honor and express our profound gratitude to the former governors and leaders who have served Rivers State with dedication and vision. From the pioneering efforts of our first administrators to the transformative policies of recent times, each leader has contributed to the tapestry of our state's history. Their collective efforts have laid the foundation upon which we continue to build. Indeed, their collective efforts and sacrifices must not be in vain. Our state holds a pivotal position in Nigeria's socio-economic landscape with a gross domestic product, GDP of approximately $28.4 billion. Rivers State ranks second only to Lagos in economic output. We contribute over 40% of Nigeria's onshore crude oil production, and our capital, Port Harcourt, serves as a vital hub for the oil and gas industry. Beyond hydrocarbons, our agricultural sector thrives, producing staples like cassava, palm oil, and soon rice, amongst other products. While efforts to diversify into tourism and manufacturing are gaining momentum. Yet, today, as we mark this milestone, we must confront a sobering reality. Our beloved state is bogged down by political differences that have threatened the peace and progress of the state. Institutions are strained, trust is broken, the very fabric of governance is frayed. This is not the River State we dreamed of. It is not the legacy our forebears fought to build, and it must not be the path we continue to walk. We are all familiar with the factors that brought about the current political situation in River State. I will not bother to rehash those unfortunate circumstances. While we must not dwell in the past, it is critical, in my opinion, that we pay close attention to our actions and inactions that allow this unfortunate situation to degenerate. President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria had to take the decisive step to issue an emergency proclamation that led to my recall from retirement from public service on March 18, 2025, to serve as Administrator of Rivers State. I have listened to various commentaries about Mr. President's decision to invoke the Emergency Proclamation Act, and I ask, where were all these commentators when one-time political allies had minor differences and some politicians choose to take advantage to line their pockets while beating drums of war? Some of our faith leaders took sides rather than call brothers to preach tolerance and forgiveness. And some of our elders seemingly forgot their age-old mediation roles in times past. Truth be told, Rivers State suffered a catastrophic failure by its elite, faith leaders, and elders. Mr. President's intervention, in my humble opinion, saved what was an imminent descent to anarchy. All through human history, great nations and states have experienced their own mountaintop and valley moments, periods of bitter contention, deep division, and intense struggle. Whether driven by political, sectarian, ethnic, or economic disagreements, these moments often seemed insurmountable at the time, yet they were eventually overcome, not by force of arms or unyielding pride, but when courageous leaders found the humility to sheathe their sword and meet each other at the negotiating table for the greater good of their people. History is replete with such examples. In South Africa, the long shadow of apartheid gave way to democracy when Nelson Mandela and F.W. de Klerk led their people, black and white, into a new era of inclusion and peace through government of national unity. In Northern Ireland, decades of violent conflict known as the Troubles ended when Unionists and Nationalists signed the 1998 Good Friday Agreement and chose peace over bloodshed. In Colombia, after more than 50 years of insurgency and unrest, the government and Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, rebels, reached a peace accord, allowing former combatants to lay down their arms and become part of the political process. In Lebanon, the devastating civil war that pitted sectarian groups against each other was halted by Taif Agreement signed on 22nd October 1989, which restructured with power and restored governance, ended about 15 years of civil war. And most recently, in Kenya, 2007 to 2008, post-election crisis that nearly tore the country apart was brought to an end through mediation at the round table, and political interests were accommodated in the new government at the time. A common thread runs through these stories. Fierce and often irreconcilable disagreements were eventually resolved. Not because the differences disappeared, but because the leaders involved recognized that the survival and progress of their nation state depended on forgiveness, compromise, dialogue, and vision. As a soldier and a scholar who has studied military history and seen the aftermath of conflict, I can confirm one universal truth. Nearly all wars, no matter how bloody or prolonged, ultimately end not on the battlefield, but at the negotiating table. Let us, therefore, choose the path of forgiveness and reconciliation, recognizing that our shared future depends on our ability to choose ranks, to close ranks, and work together harmoniously. Thankfully, Mr. President's intervention ensured that Rivers State did not degenerate into armed conflict. There are no trenches, no gunfire, no siege. Ours is a political disagreement. Painful, yes. Contentious, certainly, but it is not beyond resolution. And if I may take the liberty to call it what it truly is, a mere political disagreement, then I am supremely confident that with some maturity, good faith, and an honest reckoning of how we got to this point, peace and harmony can return to our state. As Nelson Mandela once said, and I quote, "Forgiveness liberates the soul. It removes fear. That is why it is such a powerful weapon." End of quote. Let us therefore choose the path of forgiveness and reconciliation, recognizing that our shared future depends on our ability to close ranks and work together harmoniously. Let us remember that the people of Rivers State are watching. They are yearning for calm. They desire leadership that puts them first. And it is our duty, not tomorrow, not next week, but now, to begin the work of reconciliation, dialogue, and rebuilding the trust that our democracy depends on. Our founding vision was not just about administrative boundaries. It was about the empowerment of the people, the dignity of every community, and the pursuit of a shared destiny. That vision is still alive, but it needs us to breathe new life into it. Let me state clearly, this administration is committed to peace, justice, and inclusive development. We will continue to listen to all stakeholders. We will uphold the rule of law. We will work to fully restore democratic institutions, and we will govern with fairness to all. As we look to the future, let us heed the words of former United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan, of blessed memory. And I quote, it said, "We may have different religions, different languages, different colored skins, but we all belong to one human race." In our own context, not only do we belong to one human race, we all belong to one river state. Let us harness our diversity as a strength, not a division. I urge all stakeholders, traditional rulers, political figures, civil society, and every citizen to join hands in fostering an environment of peace, unity, and shared prosperity. Together, we can build a river state that not only thrives economically, but also stands as a beacon of inclusivity and harmony. We must reclaim the spirit of unity and progress that defined our past, and that must define our future. We must rebuild not only our physical infrastructure, but also the bridges of trust, respect, and cooperation that makes any society thrive. The time for recognition is over. It is time to rebuild. This anniversary coincides with our Children's Day, a fitting reminder that our children are the true inheritors of River's dream. We owe them a state where the conflict is not normalized, where every child has the access to quality education, healthcare, and opportunity. Let the 58th anniversary be the moment we rededicate ourselves to building a river state where every child, from Opobo to Bori, from Omoku to Boni, can aspire, achieve, and belong. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, serving as the administrator of Rivers State during these challenging times has been the honor of my life. And I am deeply grateful for the support and collaboration from all sectors of our society. Your resilience and dedication inspire me daily, and I remain committed to steering the state towards a future marked by unity, equity, and sustainable development. On this 58th anniversary, I ask you all to reflect on the river state we all desire, a state of peace, of opportunity, of dignity for all. And I ask you to join us in making that vision come alive. May God bless River State. May God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you all.